Welcome to Always More Nerd, where we take a break from the infinite possibilities to talk about the news, reviews, and previews of all things comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and anything deemed nerdy. Today on the pod, we are talking about Moon Knight, Morbius review, DC delays, The Walking Dead Season 11 and spinoffs, Blue Beetle casting, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so much more. But first, sitting across from me, my friend with the Austin FC shirt, it is Jordan.
Gotta represent the best. Are they the best team in Texas, right?
Right now, yeah.
Yes, they are the best team in Texas.
Low
Yes,
bar.
I gotta show it
Very
out.
low
You know what
bar.
I mean? Verde listos. Represent.
They're not horrible right now.
Yeah. Hey, look, they're doing good.
And then sitting next to me is my friend that has yet to watch the Morbius movie.
Oh, man.
I mean,
is Justin.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I might never watch it.
Welcome in, guys. How are we doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing great, except for these allergies, it's all good.
It's been intense.
It has. Not for me, though.
For once.
For once. For once.
All right, you guys just ready to dive in? Just get this thing rolling. We got a lot of things to cover this week. Some reviews. We got some Moon Knight stuff we got to talk about.
Yes.
So let's just dive in. Let's talk about some news that we've been wanting to talk about. So Obi-Wan Kenobi dropped a trailer.
Yep.
How are we feeling about it?
I watched the trailer just once and won't watch it again. I don't want to catch anything I missed.
Right.
I feel great. I mean, I know there's been some backlash over the Grand Inquisitor and his head shape, but, I don't care. I just care that it's good.
See, I felt the same way when people were getting really mad about Bane. Because it was like, nothing is going to translate one for one from animation to live action.
It's very stylized, too,
Right.
and I don't know. I think that as long as the Grand Inquisitor is good, I'm okay.
Right.
So
It's like were they expecting Dooku's like his head in Clone Wars is like looks like a horse, like legitimately a horse.
so long.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. It did make me that trailer came out I think a few days after we dropped our first Always More Nerd.
It did.
But man, it just gave me all the vibes and all the feels.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan was always my favorite character, so I'm ready for it.
I watched it like 30 times. So sorry. Yeah, it was really good.
All right, well, let's move on. We're going to kind of maybe do some theories about Obi-Wan in a minute, but let's continue on. Warner Brothers has done it again. DC delays. They delay Black Adam. They delay Aquaman and The Flash. But good news, I guess, is they moved up Shazam too, so yay.
That's cool. I feel like we need a button for that now.
It's like something. Delay.
Yeah, it's like something that they're every month they're doing something stupid.
So last
We
time
just need a button.
I said I had no faith in DC or Warner Brothers or whatever, I would just like to point out that my statement was valid. And,
Yeah.
here we go. They delayed everything.
Right.
How far did they delay? Like 3-4 months?
Okay, so here's the rundown. So DC League of Super Pets was originally set to hit theaters in May, but it'll now be on July 29th.
Okay.
Black Adam got bumped up from its July release to October 21st.
Okay.
Aquaman and Flash have been moved to 2023. I think they have actual dates, but that's what I have written down. And then Shazam, Fury of the Gods, will now be airing on December 16th, 2022. Now, they could be doing this because of... I don't know. It doesn't make sense because Batman did really good. The Batman did.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily like COVID fears. I think it's got to be maybe something with the Flash is going to change things. But even then, like, why would you move Shazam then?
Probably just production.
I mean...
Production issues. I mean, also
reshoots.
Ezra Miller's having all of his issues.
Well, yes. Yeah. Are we talking about that?
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about
we
it.
can talk about it.
I mean, we're here.
I just saw a TikTok about him. You see that video of him coming up to that girl?
I haven't seen any videos. I've just read articles about it.
Yeah.
Is it pretty? Yeah.
He needs help.
Oh man.
Yeah. I saw a headline. I didn't click on it, but about that potentially putting his position as the Flash in jeopardy. I mean, the whole franchise is just riddled with constant issues and problematic people. You had your Amber Heard and all her issues too. So,
yeah. They just, I don't know how they do it. Maybe Marvel has like internal, therapists or something. But just there's very few issues. Like even with cast, like with around Marvel, like very few instances. The only thing I can think of is with who plays Shuri. from Black Panther, like her issues with vaccines and
Lolita
stuff.
Wright. And then
Right,
there's
yeah.
stuff with like Edward Norton and Terrence Howard in the beginning of the
Oh,
MCU.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, way back.
War Machine. Yeah, that's true.
But I feel like Kevin Feige has set up like this internal department to like oversee. All right, guys, let's make sure their lives are good. You know, let's take care of everyone, that kind of thing. Because I mean, honestly, there's other than Scarlett Johansson's issue with Black Widow and all that,
Yeah,
but they resolved
Fixed
it.
it. It's
So
like that Kevin Feige meme, not GIF, the meme of him with the sniper. That doesn't mean just spoilers. It means like you live life the correct way.
Right.
Like don't do anything.
well, it's a
stupid,
good system
you
too,
know?
though. It's like it's not like I mean they're rewarding them with
Yeah.
they're giving them jobs,
Yeah.
consistent jobs, and it's working. So. You know, why not stay in line?
Amen.
But yeah, I agree. Warner Brothers, it's just riddled, and I think it's just, I mean, it's systemic. I think I don't know how, but it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So, anyways, DC delays, all these things. I mean, I'm super bummed out about the Flash, Aquaman.
Yes.
I mean, I liked the last Aquaman, but I wasn't like excited about this new one. I am excited about Black Adam.
I still haven't seen Aquaman.
You need to, man. I think
What
you'll.
the
I think you'll.
heck?
I
What
think-
is?
Dude,
Why?
I got burned bad by Batman v Superman. It ruined everything.
You
for
haven't
me.
watched the Ultimate Edition yet, have you?
No, I haven't. That's like 4 hours. I haven't had time.
You are a DC fan. You need to try these other ones.
Dude, I'm
do.
a huge DC Comics fan. Like,
We will keep bringing it up every pod.
I know. Look, we had a discussion before you got here, man. But like, I was telling him, like, every time this Morbius included now, every time executives get involved, it just screws it up.
oh, absolutely.
And so I'm telling you, Ultimate Edition, Batman v Superman, it's not the greatest film in the world, but it's 10 times better than theatrical.
Way better.
Same thing with, and you even have seen Zack Snyder's cut.
This is true.
Come on.
Come
man.
on, man. All right, you're done here. Moving on.
You're done.
You're done. Okay, so any guys like fully into Walking Dead? Like, are you guys big, huge fans?
I was a huge fan of the comic. I fell off. Shoot, probably about 40 issues before it ended.
Okay.
I want to go back and finish it, but it was getting expensive. I had a bad habit in those days, spending way too much money each month.
Yeah, I remember kind of just glossing over a lot of the comics. I wasn't into. I was more into just the show, and I kind of liked it that way. Like I couldn't be ruined, but like, oh, well, that's not how it happened, or whatever. So,
And it would ruin it.
but it kind of seems like AMC is doing their own kind of Walking Dead universe because they've been releasing these new spinoffs and they have some new ones announced. So just for the record, here are the 5 spinoffs that are both currently running and the new ones that are coming in. You have Fear the Walking Dead, of course, which has just been renewed for an 8th season. You got The Walking Dead World Beyond, which finished its 2-season run last year. You have Tales of the Walking Dead, which will debut this summer with Terry Crews, Olivia Munn, and Anthony Edwards. Oh, and Parker Mosey and Poppy Lou, I think is how you pronounce it.
It's a fun cast.
Yeah. And there's a now confirmed Carol and Daryl series, which will premiere next year, which, of course, I mean, yeah, you got, I mean, if Norman Reedus is on board, then yeah, just might as well. It's a moneymaker. And then the last one is Isle of the Dead, which features Maggie and Negan, which if you watch season 11, it makes a lot of sense. But it is quite wild considering how their relationship even started. Wait, how far are you guys into Walking Dead?
I mean,
I've watched 2 episodes
Yeah,
of season 1.
oh gosh. I mean,
Okay.
he killed Glenn.
I'm getting there.
Yes. Spoilers alert.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll probably forget by the time
if
we
people
leave.
care about any of this, I mean, at this point, they already
Yeah,
know
that's
that.
true.
But yeah, I mean, that's weird. I mean, that's the same thing that happened in the comics. Was he killed
Right.
Glenn the exact same way. It's interesting. I'm kind of
is.
curious about all that, but
I think I'm more excited about the Negan and Maggie spinoff more than I am about the Daryl and Carol, just because we've seen a lot of Daryl and Carol already. And I think the Megan and Negan relationship has a lot more conflict into it, obviously, because you're becoming friends with the dude who brutally murdered your husband, or the father of your child. So yeah, but we'll see. I am excited about the end of this season. We'll kind of talk about that later, but so far so good. I think Walking Dead, it's expanding, more dead. All right, let's move along. Officially, a Nova miniseries has been confirmed to air on Disney Plus. It's in the development stage right now, I believe. Are any of you guys into Nova at all?
yes,
Very little.
Oh, I am.
I know he is.
Are you more of a Richard, or are you more of a
definitely Richard Rider.
Yeah.
Was it War of Kings and Realm of Kings and Annihilation stuff, all from like the mid 2000s, was, top tier, like Marvel stuff. So, I mean, I think it's going to probably be a Richard Rider thing. Kevin Feige has said in the past that Richard Rider is one of his favorite characters. So
That's true.
And I feel like that could open the door for more stuff later, with like bringing in like a Sam Alexander.
Yeah.
And we could do something like more in line with like how Miss Marvel is kind of like targeting a younger audience and do the same thing with like Sam. But did Disney actually come out and confirm that it was a miniseries?
I'm pretty sure, but let me triple
Think
check
so,
just
yeah.
make sure I'm not lying to
No,
you.
no. I mean, that's what I was seeing. I was reading some stuff that said that it was likely going to be a limited series on Disney Plus, but there's no actual confirmation as to whether or not it was a movie or a series.
That's true.
Well, and I feel like they are going to start, especially now that they're kind of, digging in deep with these, I'm not saying Nova's a D character, but he's definitely not Iron Man. He's definitely not Captain America. My point is that I think the same way they're doing with Moon Knight, I think Disney Plus doing these shows is a great way to introduce them and then presenting them with their own movies. Yeah. I think Wanda could have had her own movie starting off. However, WandaVision was a great way to sell people on it. Yes. Like, hey, she's a quality character, and so whenever she does get her own movie, it's gonna be solid.
Yeah. So I will say, like, when the MCU started, the Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, they were definitely like sitting at mostly like B tier. Well, not Hulk, but like B listers. Because I mean, they were big money makers for the X-Men and Spider-Man, and that's the same reason why all of those had already been rights have been sold because of their bankruptcy in the 90s. But so I mean, anytime Guardians of the Galaxy was like, everyone was like, who?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's true.
I don't know. They haven't made a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, it's developing the Nova project with Moon Knight scribe Sabir Perzada. I'm probably butchering that name. But it says... Actually, it doesn't say. Yeah, it's unconfirmed whether it's a limited series or a feature film. But my guess is it's going to be a show. I think they'll kind of tie in like a behind the scenes. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Thanos again, and it's him destroying...
Xandar.
Yeah.
Xandar, yeah.
I bet you that's kind of where it ties in. That's my guess.
Oh, I'm sure, like, because, they talked about the destruction of Xandar already. And that's kind of like how Richard Rider ends up with the entirety of the Nova Force in the first place. So,
yeah.
It could be cool.
We shall see.
Good, yeah.
All right, Jordan, you got this next little bit of news. What do we got?
First look at, how do you say his last name? Barry? How do you say his last name?
Wait, who are you talking about?
On the next one, it says Barry, the Joker scene.
Oh, I didn't update on yours. I put in the Funko Pop news, man.
Oh,
This is your thing, man. This is your.
see, I didn't see the update.
This is yours. You
update.
gave me this. Yeah. You and your expanding Funko collection.
I buy a lot of Funko Pops, guys. Too many.
You're a Funko guy.
I'm a Funko guy. I have, and this is, I'm sure people are going to come for me in the comments. I have like 22 right now. I just started last month, though. So that's kind of like, last month, or actually, let's say like the beginning of the year almost, but because I got one for my birthday, and then it was like, the rest is history.
One bobble of the head, and you're like, I got to get more.
I got to get more. So Funko just dropped some, well, they haven't dropped for pre-order. They have Mr. Knight and Arthur Harrow, and pre-orders start today.
Nice.
I'm putting my pre-order right after this. I love, it's actually the one with him in the suit.
So Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight, yeah, like the one in the suit, and I liked seeing that in episode 2. Like, I'll wait. But the transition...
Oh, yeah.
The transition. Oh my! You know what transition I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Gosh! Yeah, but maybe I'll bring it to the pod when I get it. Just set it right here. Just line them up.
That's what you should start doing. Just bring them all. I'll get mine. We'll have ours. We'll make a party.
Yeah, we'll just make a party.
Cool. All right. So, this is probably like a recurring segment for you. Is just what new Funko Pops do you get?
That on, for sure. No, it's sad. It's really bad. I follow all the Twitter pages, the Reddit. Like, I am in.
You're in.
I'm in.
All right. Good to know. All right. In next news, Justin was wrong.
Justin was wrong. Hold on.
I wasn't gonna say.
hold on.
Listen. I wasn't gonna say it like I was gonna say. Well, told you so. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna do it, but I mean, since you're starting it out,
Yeah,
He was wrong.
Hey,
He was wrong.
I want to own that because
it's
I feel like a lot of times people will make predictions about stuff and then they're wrong and they're just like, oh well, whatever, they'll gloss over it. No. I was wrong. I was straight up wrong, and I want to own that.
Just sit
Thank
your
you
Mostly
for
Congress
because
owning it.
I'm right 99% of the time.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's all good. I just gotta show y'all that I'm human and I make mistakes sometimes too.
So for y'all who didn't watch our Batman review last time, our friend Justin here predicted that it was not Hush in the other room next to, or he thought it was
Yes.
Hush,
Thought it was Hush, yeah.
next to the Riddler. However, it has since been confirmed, not just in an article, but then a behind the scenes deleted scenes. It is the Joker himself, played by Barry Kogan.
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 Yep.
Yeah, and it was like a full on scene. So you
5
were just a
minutes.
little wrong. You were
I
wrong.
was-
You were
I was-
5 minutes
I was
wrong.
dead wrong. Yeah.
I think 5 minutes and 8 seconds wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you guys
But
think
it's
about
okay.
it?
I loved it.
It was an interesting scene.
I'm getting Death in the Family vibes from him. That Joker. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way he looks, but I don't know. Whether it's the beginning stages of it, but it just reminds me of that.
Yeah,
line.
and Matt said that he's not technically Joker yet, right there.
Oh, really? Did he
I was
say
reading an article like he's not technically Joker. He's like a psychopath that's killing people that obviously Batman put in jail, but he's not technically yet like Joker. Like nobody's calling him that yet.
Interesting.
I mean, obviously he's not, pale, pasty white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. But his face is messed up. Or the
Yeah.
and the hair.
I think my original prediction is still correct, that even though that was the Joker, we're not going to see him yet in the actual movie. I think if this were to continue, if this Matt Reeves line is to continue, if we see Joker, we won't see him till the last movie, whether
I
it's the
hope
third
so.
or fourth movie or something like that.
Yeah,
I would love to see like a slow burn payoff like that, MCU style.
Yep.
But
Yep.
he's got it, like the breathing and the laughing, like the voice. I think
He did a
it's-
good
yeah,
job.
he did a good job. I loved it.
Yeah. I think, I do think, though, just to make you feel a little bit better, Justin, I do think we'll see Hush in this next movie.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yes.
if not in the next movie,
It's coming.
there was obviously tons of Hutch teasers dropped.
Right.
So, it wasn't like I made that prediction out of left field. So,
Right.
True.
Right. Okay, so let's move along here, and we're just going to... actually, I'm going to skip this one because we're going to talk about that later with Morbius. Okay. Let's talk about Blue Beetle, which I'll be honest, I don't know that much about. I know a little bit behind the scenes. I've just brushed basically on Wikipedia kind of stuff.
Same.
But they have some casting, which I am excited about. So if you don't know who Blue Beetle is, he is a Mexican teenager, which finds an alien beetle that gives him superpowered armor. I mean, that's fun. It's like Peter Parker, but not.
Beetle.
Yeah, it's a beetle. So I don't know if I can pronounce this because I think the X is silent. It's Zolo or Holo. Man, I'm not Hispanic, so I'm butchering it right now. But Metaduena as Jamie Reyes.
Sounds right to me.
Sharon Stone as Victoria. Raul Max Trujillo. Ooh, man. As Conrad Krapax. And Harvey. Oh, my goodness. Man, I am white. Guillén, and which they were. He was in What We Do in the Shadows, the show, which I'm excited to see him in. And then, of course, if you can't pass up on George Lopez, is because he's going to play Uncle Rudy Reyes.
Come on.
Any insight for Blue Beetle? Any predictions? Any thoughts? Anything? Because I have very little, but
I'm right there with you.
I have zero predictions. To be honest, I didn't even really know that a Blue Beetle anything was happening.
well, there you go. That's what we're here for.
I mean, and DC has 2 Blue Beetles.
Correct.
The original was Ted Cord, who, for the Arrowverse people, is referenced there a few times, but we don't like to talk about that. But no, I mean, it would be cool, if they actually like did some stuff to like bring in Ted Cord, like if there's like possibilities in the future, assuming Blue Beetle does well.
Yeah.
Like have like a mentor type figure from like a non-powered perspective. It
Right.
could be cool.
Indeed.
So
All right, and our last bit of news, which should wrap this segment up, we have Star Wars The Mandalorian adds Christopher Lloyd to season 3, which is actually just finished wrapping. So we have ourselves, we got ourselves the man. Come on. Back to the Future. This is legendary status. I mean, we thought it was crazy when we got Danny in season 2, but this tops it. This is the cherry on top.
Tier. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Any thoughts about? I know this is kind of looking into the future with season 3, but any thoughts, predictions about where we're going with season 3?
Mandalore.
It's got to be.
It's got
to be.
It's got to.
I mean, because the Mando-centric episode, he's challenged by, I'm mixing up all my Vizslas. Paz Vizsla. Or is it pre-Vizsla?
Pause.
See, mixing up from the Clone Wars. Both played by Jon Favreau. But, yeah, I mean, he's challenged by him for the Darksaber. The Darksaber grants him the right, and then he's being sent on this quest to regain his, status, from the Armorer. It would be cool to see, some more, Death Watch-related stuff, which I don't know if you guys watched the Clone Wars, but,
oh, yeah.
The Armorer, her helmet has the horns, like Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Showing that she was probably aligned with Maul. And then we're also getting Sabine down the road in Ahsoka.
That's
so
right.
It would be cool to kind of see her pop up there first. I know Disney is always plays everything pretty tight-lipped, which I love because I love just watching and just having my mind blown.
Except for when it comes to Morbius.
Oh yeah. Why would I watch?
Here we go.
I think you're right. I think my prediction from last time was we're basically getting a Mando universe, and I think Filoni and of course Favreau they're just expanding on all the characters. They're bringing them all in. I think we will get we're going to see a lot of characters from Rebels, from Clone Wars that will just kind of tie in with this. Vizsla, of course. We're going to see. I'm really excited to see the clan dynamics if there is any kind of resurgence with that.
Yes, that would be cool.
So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm excited.
And Grogu's future, now, what's that gonna look like too? Because now, he chose the armor, right? In that last episode, where that's gonna go now? Where does he fall in line with this?
He's with Daddy Mando. What do you?
I mean, yes, we know that now, but I'm saying in the in between of where episode 7, there's no history of him, so it's where do we see him die, or where do we see him? It's what fills this.
But if he's not a Jedi, why would it matter if he dies?
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I think that the other thing that if you're only watching the movies, it's you have this weird perspective. A lot of things people are asking is how does nobody know about the Jedi?
Right.
It's if you think about it from you have to really know the lore to be okay, you have 10,000 Jedi for 100,000 planets. It's oh, okay, so they're not as well known.
Right. Yeah. Well, also too, they've been all but extinct for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
At that point,
and propaganda is powerful.
Right.
So,
and also to your point though, Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, they did talk about how. I don't know if it's season 3 or just some of these Mando shows. They are going to start flirting with First Order, if I'm not mistaken. They're going to start mentioning or kind of talking about how they said something along the lines of, we're going to see how it kind of sort of began, how First Order started. So
and I feel like we've already started with the last season with,
Moff.
With Moff Gideon and stuff. But even just when they were why did they want Grogu's DNA.
Oh yeah,
stuff. Is that them trying to create a body for Palpatine? Because if you paid attention to the music,
there's so much in
you
between.
get this weird First Order theme in that scene. So
yeah, it's a good point.
We'll see.
All right. Well, hey, in case you didn't know, or in case you didn't notice, our friend Chris is not here. And he was supposed to be.
Yep. Just the last one.
Yeah, he missed the last one, and then something came up the last minute where he couldn't make this one either. However, we decided that we want to hear his voice, so we have included a small segment with him. So this is Chris's hot takes, and he has something for us to debate and discuss. So here we go.
All right. Here's my hot take. I think the DC should scrap everything they've ever done. Just pretend it does not exist. Start from scratch. Kind of like they tried to do with the New 52, but baseline, like, everybody's origin stories are at least kind of related to the original. And I mean this in movies, in TV shows, in comic books, all of that. They can say that the universes all collapsed into one, and the gods of the DC universe started it all over from scratch. So I'm talking like Superman's origin, Batman's parents getting killed one more time because we haven't seen that enough, the Flash getting all of his powers. But, and here's my kicker, I don't want to see any of that stuff played out in their own movies. I want to hear about it from some of the smaller heroes' roles. So, like, Red Hood talks about, oh yeah, like 20 years ago, the Wayne kid lost his parents, and then I found out he was Batman. I became his Robin, and then I died, and now I'm Red Hood. Or you can talk about, like, Metallo from Superman. Like, oh yeah, a few years back, this crazy storm happened. There were meteorites everywhere, and now I've got a kryptonite heart. Something like that. I think that would be really interesting, and it gives a lot of new direction for the DC universe. Lets it expand, gives new directors and new writers opportunities to show new characters or to dive into characters that already exist. And if you wanted to rewrite characters as different races or genders, you can absolutely do that at that point in time. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
All right, so restarting everything DC universe. Thoughts?
I mean, as far as the movies go, yeah, I mean, you know my feelings. Burn that to the ground and start all over. I mean, the Batman's a great example. It's not tied to anything, and it was phenomenal. But as far as the comics go, I feel like we did that already. You know, we've had 42 crises, basically, at this point, and it's like the New 52 basically was that some origins were changed, and, you know, even, you know, we had a different Wally West for a bit, which, I mean, he still exists now, but, you know, we got both. And I think what they found was, you know, people are really tied to that history. Like, for me, when the New 52 started, the biggest thing that I hated was there was no Wally West. Like, I've read every issue of The Flash that's come out since 1986.
As you've mentioned.
So it's like, for me, it's like I grew up with that. And then it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, hey, he doesn't exist anymore. You're like, oh, okay, this is just The Flash to me. And he's gone. So it's like people have attachment to that. Their characters from like their childhood TV shows. Like he was the Flash in the Justice League cartoon. And like all that stuff like that. So I feel like that would be more detrimental. But like as far as universes go, it's like TV and movies. It's like, I love for them to wipe everything and do something similar to Marvel, have like an interconnected like TV, do it on HBO Max,
right?
Yes,
and have TV, movie, interconnected universe, and start slow. Like, don't do this huge grandiose thing, and then don't start with Superman or Batman. It's like, because the thing is,
wait a second, we haven't had a Superman thing in years.
well, this is true, but
Give me Superboy at least.
Well, I mean, you can't really do Superboy without Superman.
True.
But this is exactly what Chris is talking about. Is like you have these side B characters where they, Superman still exists in the universe, but we just haven't been introduced to him yet.
But I think that we could, rather than starting, it's like cast a Superman and have him be not your main character in this stuff, but have him exist.
Right.
Like, imagine having a Batman-centric project and it's like Batman struggling, and then it's just like, oh, hey, he calls his friend, and then it's like, oh, hey, Clark. It's like, it's happened. It can be like dramatic. It could be funny, actually. Like, imagine he's getting like tossed around, and then he just shows up and he's like, hey, do you need some help? And he's like, oh, no, I got this. And then he doesn't have it, you know, or something like that. But like, I love to see them focus on like, kind of like you said, like on some smaller characters or some like lesser known, like, we've never gotten a great live action Dick Grayson.
Well, I mean, like other than the show? You don't like Titans?
Yeah. Character-wise, I'd say he's not a great Dick Grayson.
Okay.
Let's just put it that. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the older X-Men movies where it's like you've got characters, you've got decent movies, but it's like if you're a fan of some of these characters, you're not seeing a great representation of that actual character. So it's like, I don't know. I think they could do something really cool there, but you know, executives kind of have to get out of the way and actually like, let creatives be creative.
I think you're right. I think it would suck if we did restart just for that, sake of we would have to start over. However, at the rate of what Warner Brothers is doing now, I almost feel like it's kind of necessary in a way because it's just because they've tried to do these different things that Marvel's doing, but they've started at different stages with different types of characters on different platforms. And so what you have is this hodgepodge versions of different characters who know about. It's like Peacemaker. It's like its own show, it's its own thing, and he is sort of in the universe of like what we know as with the DCEU, but then we know that it's not fully involved with it. And then you also have, Titans, which is completely different, which is also somewhat connected to Doom Patrol, but not completely. And then you have it's just a huge mess. And so all these things started at different times. Of course, Arrowverse was a great success, but it's just all different. And they started at different places. Like, why would you start Titans in the middle of all of Arrowverse to me? Like, I understand why you want to create that darker tone and have something a little bit different, but man, it's hard for anyone to stay connected with it, especially if you're not already involved in DC knowledge.
Oh, no, I totally agree. Like, the Flash movie could do something cool, like do like a Flashpoint. And, similar to what the New 52 came out of Flashpoint. And it's like you can collapse everything and then basically start all over. And if you have characters that you want to keep, like say you want to keep Jason Momoa because he's fantastic.
Right.
It's like he's still there. And then you can recast some characters as younger versions of themselves or whatever.
Right.
Like, no offense to Ben Affleck, but you're old, dude. Like, how many more years you got in you of doing these kinds of movies? Or is it going to be like Liam Neeson jump cuts? 17 cuts to show him jumping a fence or whatever.
All right, Chris. Well, that's a good hot take. I think our frustration with DC is well noted and documented.
Yes.
And I think what I'm just tired of is just it being so inconsistent. I'm a Superman fan. I'm not gonna lie. Henry Cavill he's my OG. I love him. I think Man of Steel was a completely underrated film. That's just me.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely.
But I think just the way Warner Brothers executives have gotten involved with everything is just a mess, and it's hard to keep track of, and I'm tired of it. So that's why I love Kevin Feige. I may not like all of the MCU films, but man, it's connected. It feels good. There's very few films out there in the MCU that are trash.
Yeah.
Very few.
I'd say none of them are trash.
Right. It's like there's none of them that like, okay, I will never see this movie again.
Like, I'm not going out of my way to watch Thor the Dark World.
Right.
Or Fantastic Four.
But if you're rewatching the series, if you're going back to rewatch everything, you're not like, man, I don't want to watch all these.
Because even those movies have good moments. Like,
right.
There's a lot of good moments in Thor the Dark World. Like the
putting the hammer on the coat rack.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
even just a lot of the banter and the dialogue. It's like I enjoyed that movie. I didn't think it was as terrible as everybody said, but it's still the worst Thor movie. So
It is.
Right. All right, guys. We'll be right back after this short break, and we'll go into some reviews. All right, guys, we are back from our news of the week, or of the month, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're going to just dive into reviews. So we're only going to discuss two things today, which one is going to be super short because one of our co-hosts decided not to watch it. And then
We'll see about that. I was going to say, he might have a lot of opinions.
but we're just going to start off with one that we're really excited about, and that is Moon Knight. Okay, let's be honest with everyone here. How much did you know prior to them announcing Moon Knight?
Very little.
I mean, this is a series
a
that
lot.
really,
Yeah, I've got a few like hardcover collections.
really,
Yeah.
Cool, man. What do you got? You got any number ones?
No. Nothing going that far back. But no,
Okay.
I've known him a lot about Moon Knight. So he's it was a surprising character for them to do. Honestly.
Yeah, I knew him in lore at first just because he was compared to Batman, dubbed kind of like the Marvel's Batman, so to
Yeah.
speak, especially with Stephen Grant's character. But that's the only way I kind of knew about him. I decided to deep dive a little bit after they announced it and kind of got into it. And I knew his interactions with, what do you call it? The darker, Daredevil, him. Shoot, what is that?
Midnight Suns.
There it is. Thank you.
Yes.
I knew of that, and I knew that team up, but I wasn't like super. I didn't know all the backstory and everything.
Yeah.
So Moon Knight, which released, we're recording this on April the 8th, released 2 weeks ago. And we now have 2 episodes of Moon Knight. So we wanted to kind of dissect each episode and kind of just get some general thoughts and maybe kind of deep dive into where we think this is going. So let's just kind of dive into episode 1. We'll do each episode at a time. So episode 1, we kind of see, which is called the Goldfish Problem. We see Stephen Grant. He's the character that we're introduced to, which is quite different because most of the time it's generally focused around Mark Spector, correct?
Yeah. It was an interesting choice to use Stephen Grant because Mark Spector is, I guess, he's the real one, if that makes sense.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because I guess I just don't know enough about. Is this really Stephen Grant's body, and Mark Spector was kind of just born into this body in a way? Or
see, and I don't know how the MCU is going to take it, but Mark Spector is the real him in the comics. Like the whole, I don't know what you guys know about his backstory, and they're kind of alluding to it a little bit. Like where they say, like where Khonshu said he died and whatever. Like the whole backstory in the comics is he was a mercenary.
Right.
He was betrayed, was killed. Khonshu brought him back to life as his fist of vengeance. And depending on continuity, because like it's changed a lot. Like,
right.
Moon Knight has been a very flexible character in terms of like how he's portrayed.
Which that makes it easy to do with the personality.
Right. It's like, was he always broken, or did
he become broken? Yeah.
Right. From the whole experience. But I'm loving it.
Dude, it's, yeah. Okay, let's just do this. Let's just do general thoughts before we deep dive into like each part of the episode, because I, like you said, it's such a far back there character. They could have done Nova first. Like, more people know about Nova, I think, than they do about Moon Knight. I think they could have. I mean, the fact that we had a Guardians movie says a lot too. But this is truly one of those characters that's like no one. Getting Oscar Isaac involved with this was the perfect choice. I think Oscar Isaac does. I'm granted, I don't know comics that well, but Oscar Isaac has chops, and I think seeing him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was he actually thought of the idea of changing Stephen Grant's character to be British, like changing his accent and everything.
Yes, that was very cool.
Which was clever for TV, because that makes it easier for us to kind of see the change in personality, and it's just easier to kind of follow and keep track of.
Oh, I want to pause on that, because like the change in personality, even just the body language, he does it so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, man crush on this dude, Oscar Isaac.
He's up there.
He's a good one, man. Him and Pedro Pascal, they got my hearts.
Yep.
They got my hearts.
They're good.
So when we're first introduced into this episode, the opening episode, we see Arthur, and he's walking on glass. What a way to start this new, I would say, a new version of Disney Plus, because they're kind of like, all right, it's getting darker. I mean, we're not Deadpool level yet, but it's getting darker, and it's getting grittier, and it's getting a little bit more mental. And so, what a opener, I think, with Arthur.
It caught me off guard. I was like, oh man, it's like, especially the fact that he just walks around like that all day. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
that was intense. I mean, I like the way he's portrayed as like this like crazy like zealot, and I mean, it's just great. It's
just it.
Yeah, it's.
Well, didn't he say, Ethan Hawke? Didn't he say he kind of based the character off the guy from the Waco incident?
Yeah,
I can't remember the actual guy's name, but
Oh man.
but yeah,
Yes.
it definitely fits and feels that way too.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we start the episode, we see Arthur walking on glass, super creepy. We're introduced to Stephen Grant, who was in the comics a billionaire, if I'm not mistaken. He was kind of the Batman Bruce Wayne-esque of the character. But now here in this version, he's a gift shop worker at a museum. He's an enthusiast. He obviously knows a lot about it, but it seems to be just on his own accord. However, this is part of me wondering, is this a lot of previous knowledge that has been suppressed, and he's just kind of has been knowing a lot about it, which is, I guess we haven't seen it yet in this show, but how much more backstory is there to Stephen Grant versus Mark Spector in this?
Right, and it's interesting because you see in like episode 2, which not to jump too far ahead, like there does seem to be some overlap with like when Stephen Grant throws that punch, and Mark is like, "That was an impressive punch." It's like there seems to be like at least like some breaking down of the walls in between the two personalities.
Yeah. All right. So in this later in the episode, this woman named Dylan asked about the date that they were being set up on, which I actually want to save that question for later because it brings up an interesting concept about Mark versus Steven and possibly Jake, which we'll talk about in a second. And then we kind of see his nightly routine, which is basically him trying to stay up as long as he can. He's like listening to these tapes. He's playing with Rubik's Cube. He's doing all these things. But then eventually he passes out and he wakes up in the Alps. And this is like the most hilarious scene ever is where he just kind of looks up at the guy in the window and he waves at him. And the other guy's like, hey, like forget, like you're chasing after him. It's just a great this chase scene with him. It was what you said earlier about just his personality and how his mannerisms and his body language in this whole thing is just beautiful to watch. And then once he starts blacking out, it's remarkable to see how quick and how just how. I don't want to say easy because I'm sure it takes work, but Oscar Isaac makes it look easy.
Yeah.
He's running away. He meets Arthur here, and basically we see this whole cult thing going on here where he judges these people. We learn later it's based on it's coming from, he's getting his powers from the god Ammit, the Egyptian god Ammit, and essentially Arthur knows that Mark Spector has stolen this scarab from him, and so he wants it back, and that's when we start seeing these cutout scenes where he's blacking out and Mark is taking over.
Those scenes are so cool.
I need in a later episode just flashbacks. I need to see because that first one especially where he had 7 dead bodies
just around him, yes, and they're all kind of just looking at him like, you just killed those people.
Yeah.
Just didn't even see
I thought that was a nice way too to really kind of have that level of violence and not necessarily depict it.
Mm-hmm.
Very
to
very
keep it
smart
in their targeted rating.
Yeah.
But also too, just it was at first I was like, I wish I was seeing the action, but then also I was like, I feel a little bit disoriented,
mm-hmm.
and I like that I feel disoriented.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because it's sucking you into that experience that Steven is having.
So he wakes up in his bed where he's obviously has tried to prevent himself from sleepwalking, or what he thinks is happening is sleepwalking. He has his leg tied to the bed. He has sand around to see if he's walking around. He's got tape on the door. But of course, knowing that Mark Spector is this trained mercenary, it's easy for him to
for sure
to get through all that.
Yeah.
And so this is when we notice the second time the fish and how the fish is gone. And I love this because I think it's also, I could be wrong, but I think it was also a play on, it's almost like this unearthing, this revealing that we are seeing a different side of Stephen Grant, of Mark. This fish symbolizes that. Of course, throughout the whole first episode, almost all of these scenes are riddled with reflections. I think there's one scene where he was talking to that statue dude, and it has him walking away, and you think you're looking at the water reflection, but you're actually not. You're looking at it just upside down. And it's really great directing and screenplaying on these guys' end. And so, let's talk about the steak dinner.
I felt so bad for him, man. I felt so bad.
So he tries to make it to the date that he had set up with Dylan, that he unknowingly set up with Dylan.
Yeah.
And he ends up being 2 days late, which explains why, how he got back to his apartment and everything. He orders a steak. He asks the waiter asks how he would like it. He goes, good. I like it good.
That was just funny to me. It's like good.
And this is when he comes back to his apartment and he discovers Mark's phone, and he sees a list of names, most of it being Layla, but then there's another character, which I forgot to write down. Do you remember who that other character was? Because if I'm not mistaken, he's like someone who actually knows Mark very well, and he's kind of like his, I don't want to say his sidekick, but...
Yeah, the cabbie, Frenchie. I'm blanking on his name. But yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
I remember,
and he calls Layla and basically discovers that she recognizes another voice, and he kind of really knows, oh, this is a different person that she's thinking she's talking to. And that's when we were introduced to Mark in his American accent. Steven tries to run away, and he, for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, is being chased by Khonshu and sees, which, I mean, I know we saw it in the trailers, but man, it looks good.
It does.
Khonshu just, the character in his presence, just that would scare the living shit out of me.
It's like the horror of it. It's like kind of like giving off that horror film vibe with
Yeah.
the lights flickering and everything.
Which is interesting because you wouldn't know this, but in Morbius, do you remember in that one scene where the lights flickered down the hallway?
Yep.
It was hilarious to see how similar it was.
Yes.
You would have watched it. You would have known.
You can go bootleg it.
I still feel okay.
You can go bootleg it. So
So Steven runs to the museum to try to get away from everything. Or does he run there, or is he just going back to work? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, he's back to the museum. And essentially he's there. Like, oh, that's what it is. He's working. Then late at night, basically Arthur shows up and
to do inventory.
Yeah, doing
Yes.
inventory. He tries to run away from this jackal that appears, which is, of course, we'll see later, hidden from the cameras. But essentially, he starts chasing him, chases and locks himself in a bathroom, and that's when we get this wonderful, beautiful one-shot. If I'm not mistaken, it was one shot.
Seamless,
scene.
yeah.
And with the mirrors, just great, wonderful scene where Mark basically calms Steven down, saying, "Look, you're not going to die. Let me take over." And then it happens.
Yeah.
He suits up and he takes down the jackal.
Which I will say, the thing I didn't like in that scene was how CGI the suit looked.
I would agree with you on that.
I was like, this feels like.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
But both that and in the car chase scene, the logs. I was like,
I was just going to say,
I was
the
like,
car
I
scene
was like,
was.
That's a Final
well,
Destination.
you guys
thing,
having
though.
some budgetary issues here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the only bummer. I'm hoping, because we know it exists. I've seen the footage of like the actual suit itself, so I'm hoping that we get that sooner rather than later. Of like it not being so crazy
Computer.
CGI. Yeah.
CGI.
But yeah, that's pretty much the first episode. I think this is one of the better openers of all these DC or sorry, not DC, the MC Disney Plus shows.
Yeah. They jumped right in.
Yeah, I loved WandaVision as a whole, but the first episode without that second one, it's lacking a lot.
Which is why they released them together, because I feel exactly the same.
Yeah. Loki was
do that.
I think it might be my favorite first one, but I mean this one did really good.
Yeah, once it's out, I want to go back and binge it. Like, that's honestly my biggest struggle. It's like having to wait.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on. Episode 2, Steven wakes up as normal. He goes back to look at what happened at the museum because obviously there's some wreckage around the museum. And it turns out it looks like he's crazy because the camera footage catches absolutely nothing. And long story short, he gets fired. He however, upon finding that phone in the first episode, there was a set of keys which leads to a storage locker, which he goes to the storage locker, and it turns out being basically he's discovering he's Jason Bourne. That's basically what I caught from this.
Yeah.
He caught he saw the passports, he saw all the extra cash. It's Jason Bourne.
Yep.
You know, my God, it's Jason Bourne. He has the scarab, and this scarab reminds me of the compass from Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like it doesn't lead you true north; it leads you to something your heart most desires. Obviously, we know it's going to lead him to Amit, but it just kind of gives me that kind of vibe. I thought of Pirates immediately when they explained
I
it.
didn't think about that. Yeah.
So Mark shows up, and I'm loving that we're getting more of Mark because I think it's one of the things I was feeling lack of. I mean, granted, it's the first episode, but I wanted to see all the personalities from the get go, and I know I wasn't expecting it, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
But he shows up and he basically explained to him everything's going on. He's a mercenary. He explains the whole backstory a little bit, why he's doing what he does. But he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that he kills and basically says, "Yeah, you're not going to get my body anymore." Decides to run away, and it's another chase scene with Khonshu. This how do I explain this? I love the dynamic and the story behind it all underneath is that he is running away from who he truly is, which I think is what we're going to kind of allude to towards the end of this whole series is Stephen Grant is going to really take over and also have his own part in who Moon Knight truly is. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see them. My prediction, anyway, hey, maybe I'll be wrong again. Twice in a year, who knows? Is that we'll see them play nice at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
They
kind of share it, maybe.
Yeah, like being able to hit both the Mr. Knight and the Moon Knight personas. They serve different roles in the comics. I mean, it's in the comics he's pretty unified in this point in time, but he functions in his day-to-day life as Mr. Knight.
Right.
And when he's out doing the Moon Knight stuff, he's Moon Knight. So it would be cool to see them play nice and also to appear in other things.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. This is where we're introduced to Layla. He runs into her, and we discover. I'm going to try to summarize this because it's a lot, but he discovers that Layla is Mark's wife. Which this is where I'm going to come back to that first episode where it talks about that date with Dylan. Because here's my thing. Obviously, Steven didn't set up that date with her. Why would Mark set up a date with her? Because yes, granted, he was doing that divorce thing, but it wasn't like it was because he didn't like her. It's because he wanted to protect her.
Yeah.
So my thought is there's another personality that we just haven't seen yet, and maybe both Mark and Steven are oblivious to.
Yeah.
That's good theory.
They're, the typical third personality. My other thought was that, maybe Mark ran into her, like in public or something, and had to pretend to be Steven.
Oh,
Because Mark Mark was obviously way more aware of Steven than Steven was of him.
well, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
So, I mean, that was the
Damn
other
you,
thought I
and
had.
that's a brilliant thought.
Yes, that's good thought.
Damn it! I liked my theory.
Yeah, I liked it
it's a
too.
good
I liked
theory.
it too. I liked it too.
No, but those were literally the two ideas I had was there's a third personality or maybe a fourth, who knows. But like there's another personality, or it was Mark having to pretend to be Steven because he's back in Steven's territory.
Yeah.
He ran into somebody who recognized Steven, and he had to.
But I feel like that's maybe too much assuming on our end. I feel like unless they explain that later,
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's too much.
Oh, I feel like they will. I mean, because that's pretty open. Like even if it's just like a throwaway line to explain it, like how
Yeah.
I'm calling that one Infinity Gauntlet fake or something like that.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like they're like, I don't feel like that detail was meaningless.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I think it's a little too important, the fact that he missed the date by 2 days.
2 days,
and
yeah.
I think you're right. I think there's got to have more meaning to it. So, anyways, discovers his wife. Fake police show up, ends up being some Amit goons.
But I think there are real police who were,
True. Good point.
but I think that's relevant because it's also just showing how wide his
Yeah,
reach
it's
is.
spreading out.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, you're right, because they even had access to the computers and everything. They're in the cop car. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so we go back to Harrow's place and discover that he's tried to create this little miniature paradise on Earth, which by all means, it kind of looks that way, but it's the means of how he gets there that's a little kind of ugly. Of course, from episode 1, we see that he's been judging people, and if Amit decides that they are not worthy, if they end up having a horrible life or do these horrible things, whether it's in their past or in the future, they're gone. And so everyone that's left behind, it seems to be a sustainable society, but basically, as Steven discovers, they're even killing kids, which is a no-go for all parties involved.
Yes.
So at this point, Layla comes to the rescue to try to rescue Steven. They start running away. Arthur summons another jackal, and he's chased. And this is where we get to see the glorious, hilarious, wonderful flip. Steven is hit by the jackal, thrown out a window, and he suits up, and he lands up as Mr. Knight.
Yeah.
Which I love the superhero landing.
Yes.
And then
That's
immediately
perfect.
just tipping over. Which also again points back to like where I feel like the walls are breaking down, like having that landing, and then it's like that's like an instinctual thing because his body knows it.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's my question: Is this just his imagining of what the suit should look like because he hasn't actually seen the Moon Knight suit, or is this that third personality in hiding where a little bit of pieces is kind of coming more to light?
I think it's the first because she's like summon the suit.
Yeah.
And so in his brain he's thinking
Suit.
Yeah.
and.
I think he mentioned that too. Like, this is like a suit. Like, he kind of like
He's
pointed
like,
out.
it's a suit.
Yeah, it's a suit.
And it's which I love that bit of dialogue where Margaret's like, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
But also too, like I like that he's like, oh, weapons. Like
Yeah.
what are these?
What are these? He's so clueless to everything. It's funny.
Well, I guess that's back to my point. Is like why would he assume weapons then? Like if he's thinking suit and
Yeah.
he comes up in a 3-dress suit, why
Yeah.
would he have nunchucks in his back? You know?
Which I don't know if weapons are default come with. I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, hey,
a good point.
Who knows?
That's a good
Who
point.
knows? I
mean,
I feel like it could go either way.
Well, and that's the beauty behind what a lot of these MCU, both the movies and the shows, have been doing is they give you a little bit of flavor from each of the things that you know from the comics, and they repurpose it and they change it. And so either way, it is interesting because even if this is Stephen Grant and he's going to keep this suit, so to speak, it's a good play because it is showing him turning into his own, and we might see a more serious Stephen Grant. And who knows, maybe he will turn into that billionaire that we know of because he becomes, super awesome and confident and becomes wealthy on his own. Who knows?
Yeah.
Which I will also do want to touch on that scene, like when he's fighting the jackal and he takes off the jacket and he starts rolling up his sleeves. Like it's definitely a parallel to
Hello,
a
Mr.
scene.
Knight.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Knight.
Yeah, it's a parallel to a scene in the first volume of Moon Knight where he was Mr. Knight, where he's getting ready to. I think actually the first time he did, he was torturing a guy. But he takes off the jacket, he rolls up his sleeves to like get down to business.
Yeah,
and it's
You're in my ends.
I liked the visual parallel there, even though he quickly lost that fight.
Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah, so in that scene, we see him fighting the jackal, and he's doing okay. He lands a really good punch on the jackal, showing his true strength coming in from the moon, from Khonshu. And then Mark, through the reflection of the bus, if I remember correctly, says, all right, not bad, kid, but let me take over so no one gets hurt. And so gives it to Mark. We see the full Moon Knight costume, which, again, it's CGI, but it does look cool. Like, it's kind of like... It's a blend of it looks good, but
I feel like it looked better in that scene because like the contrast in the bathroom with like the brown and gold made the CGI really stand out versus like a nighttime scene where there's a lot of CGI going on in that scene that made it feel less jarring.
Yeah.
Because he's fighting a CGI character.
Right.
A lot of the background is CGI, and like running on the rooftops and all that fun stuff. So.
yeah.
Those scenes were really cool too.
So Moon Knight takes off. He basically leads him away from the crowd, which does kind of give me a positive vibe that maybe this Mark Spector is not as, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here, not as dark as we might assume he is, or as gritty as we might assume he is, which actually I have a prediction that I think that Steven is going to get wired up, and we're going to see a darker Steven than we are going to see a darker Mark. But that's just my
Interesting.
personal theory.
Cool.
I think it would be Mark trying to reel back Steven versus the other way around. I think we'll see a good guy, a good cop, bad cop, but Steven will start turning kind of more dark, and maybe he'll want to stay with Khonshu or something like that because he's never felt accepted before anyway. So,
Ooh, that will be.
Okay, so what you do now is we save this part, you make a reel out of it, and then, like with the, what's his name? Like Theories by T and all the guys on TikTok where they say it there and then like they point at it like, what? I was right,
Yeah.
You should do that.
I could be wrong, but I think it would be a
good
cool
theory.
contrast to see, because obviously we've been seeing this part to where Mark, especially we assume, for those who know, like Mark is he's the mercenary. He's obviously done some probably dirty things, but Steven, he's been holed up his whole life, and he's been shunned alone, and now Mark wants a divorce from this woman who actually kind of vibes with him, and so who knows? So anyways, Mr. Knight, or excuse me, Mark leads the jackal away, and ends up doing this really cool move where he basically just pulls him down on this spike in the middle of town, kills him. Super cool scene, and then Khonshu shows up. No, I take that back. At first, he's having a conversation with Stephen Grant, who is now in the mirror, which is interesting. He's now kind of come full circle. He now kind of sees what it's like. Mark shuts him out after Stephen tries to debate with him about various things. And Khonshu shows up, and we learn that Khonshu is holding Layla over Mark's head right now. He's using her as leverage and basically saying, if you don't continue my wishes, she's next. And so that's why he wanted the divorce. That's why he wants to keep her away.
Sucks.
Which is a very interesting and cool dynamic, I think. I think we're going to see a lot of, again, I think Steven, along with that, is going to produce, this is how we're going to keep getting Mark / Steven / whoever as the Moon Knight, and it just not escaping, is we're that continuous. I am curious if we're going to see a changing character in Khonshu, or if he's always going to be this bad god with a vibe kind of thing. I don't know.
But I just thought about this. When he's yelling in the background, like when Steven is first meeting with what's his name, Harrow, reminded me a little bit of Venom.
Oh yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
And he's like, kill him, kill him,
Same
kill him.
comedy vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. But like also it's like I don't think Khonshu is necessarily bad. I know they're kind of give you that appearance, but like Ahmed's definitely way worse. Like she's like trying to commit genocide on him, like
She's killing children.
Yeah.
killing kids.
Yeah.
And that's the first 2 episodes. Any thoughts about where we might be going, or any general thoughts about what we've seen?
We missed one thing. We missed the Avatar reference.
Oh
In
yeah.
the first episode. I've been wanting to bring that up.
Oh, that was great. He's like
The blue people?
He was like blue people in the anime. I was like, oh, that's great.
I love that. I love that. But no, I think going forward, it's just got to get better.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our last wrap up here, and let's talk about Morbius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Jordan, you and I saw it.
Yep.
Let's say one positive thing before we say anything negative about this movie.
Look at my notes.
This man needs notes to say something positive about that movie. We're not off to a great
I
start.
had to write it down.
One good thing about this is that it seems this is kind of, I don't know, it could be the beginning of a Sinister Six type of thing.
Oh, you want that to happen?
I don't want. I mean,
It's like, no, I really don't.
I don't. But I think just the post-credit scenes, like,
Oh, we can talk about that.
That's probably the
Save it
only
for
thing I needed.
Positivity right now.
Yeah.
Positivity right now.
But it was like, because the whole movie was like, okay, what was the point of this?
Right.
But now seeing the post-credit scene, it's like, okay.
My one positive thing before we really start, getting onto this thing, Jared Leto's performance was fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't like it was horrible. Jared Leto knows how to act, but I really did like Matt Smith's character, Milo. I think Matt Smith is a good actor, and especially like that dance scene.
That was so good.
I think he did. Look, a lot of this. Okay, we're returning now. A lot of this just comes down to bad writing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not blaming all this on the director. Yeah, there were definitely some scenes that I saw that were like, that is not good decision making when it comes to the directing. However, as we discussed with DC, I think Sony has a lot of the same issues. There's a lot of overreach when it comes to their private entities, and so I think what we saw here in the 2-year delay that in which Morbius was originally going to be released is we saw a lot of changes, which even including the post-credit scenes. I think a lot of what we saw was Sony trying to, all right, well, we know this is going to happen, so let's have a reference to this, and that's unnecessary references.
Yeah. I can see that.
If you guys, spoiler alerts, I guess, if you haven't caught on.
Yeah.
What we see in the post-credit scenes is we get introduced to, what's his name? It's the Vulture, but what's his name?
Adrian Toomes.
Adrian too, yep.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Zero.
Because the only logical way you can think about this is when you watch No Way Home, people from other universes come into Tom Holland's, but as far as we can tell, no one goes out.
Yeah, this is kind of like changing that whole thing now.
Right.
Like,
so the only thing I'm betting on here is that Sony is thinking, oh, well, in Multiverse of Madness, they'll explain how people can move around. And, like, that's their assumption.
Yeah.
But Sony is basically, from what I can tell, is they're making these decisions without talking to Kevin or anyone else, for that matter, and going, hey, is it cool if we try this or do this? They're just like, well, we have Spider-Man, so we can do whatever the F we want. So that's essentially what I'm feeling.
He knew who Spider-Man was. So now that
Morbius?
Not Morbius.
Vulture.
Vulture.
Well, he knew who Spider-Man was, but did he know who Peter Parker was? See, that is the only other way that this could possibly work.
No, I'm saying, yeah, he did in the movie, but I'm saying, like, after the spell.
After the spell, yeah, that's true.
So he could be talking about another Spider-Man in the Morbius universe, whatever the Sony universe, and then maybe it's Andrew Garfield or whoever, even though he's denied it. But who knows what he's
a
telling the
liar.
truth about.
He's a liar.
Yeah, but
He's a liar.
The thing that it makes no sense whatsoever, because he's like, comes into this other universe, he's like, hey, you want to get revenge on Spider-Man? It's like,
Yeah.
It's so
What
weird.
revenge?
For Morbius, what revenge?
Like, how do you even know who, like,
Yeah,
Spider-Man
unless it truly is like what was one of the first post-credit scenes we got in the MCU? Wasn't it it was
Nick Fury in Iron Man?
well, there was that one, but there was the other one. I think it was in Hulk, where at the very end, Tony Stark. And that was kind of, it was like ahead of what was coming up next. Like the next movie didn't even set this. Wait,
It was
isn't
the
that correct?
Avenger Initiative, was what he was talking to
Right.
Ross about.
Ross, yeah.
And so I think Sony wanted to kind of have that same kind of vibe of like, okay, these events are happening later on. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right. That's the only logical way I can think of it going. But even still, that doesn't explain how, Harrow, or not Harrow, Toombs got there.
Yeah.
It's just bad writing.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah, and they took a lot out of it.
From the trailers.
From the trailers.
Oh no, it's deliberate. I mean,
Oscorp
there
was
was
seen once, like that Oscorp shot. Like nothing about Oscorp. I feel like there was stuff in there that was mentioned maybe slightly.
The Oscorp, the Spider-Man
mural.
None of that. Sony was just getting butts in the seats.
They're lying to you to get you into the theater because they knew that the movie was bad.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the way it lands.
I don't even want to discuss everything that happened in the movie because it's just it's
super inconsistent.
Look, if this would have come out in the early 2000s, it might have worked.
Yeah.
That is actually, as someone who hasn't seen it, that's actually one of the biggest things I've heard is that it feels like an early superhero movie that hasn't learned any lessons from all of the ones that have worked since.
One more thing. Where did Vulture get his tech from?
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Again,
none of it makes sense.
The lazy
Because that was from T'Chari scraps.
Yeah.
So where did he build a suit?
It was different tech. And I've seen a lot of things. I've seen that. I've seen one of the biggest things that I've seen that he stole that tech from Oscorp, because Oscorp in that credit scene that what was it? This Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were setting up like, they had who was the guy walking past all those things? You know what I'm talking about in the credit scene?
Of Amazing Spider-Man 2, yeah. Wasn't it Osborn who was walking past?
I mean, if it was him, yeah, but there was Vulture tech, so people are like, oh, well, he stole that tech from there.
It was very different.
But
though.
Sony's making a lot of assumptions. And if they are drawing at those things, that's fine. But, man, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. And I don't think they do. Nope. That's my problem here. I think they're basically just trying to give you Easter eggs for the sake of Easter eggs.
Yes.
It's just like the being super out of touch and not understanding what makes comic book movies work for people who enjoy seeing comic book movies. So like, oh, we see all these things in movies. This is what makes it make money, and we want to make money.
Right.
When in reality, that's not what makes money. The reason why the MCU works the way it does is because Kevin Feige loves comics.
Yeah.
The reason why the Star Wars TV shows work the way that they do is because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni,
they know what they're doing.
Love Star Wars.
Yes.
So they are obviously out here with like, okay, we know the lore, we know the things, we know all the rules. Especially Filoni, he's got way too many characters that he loves. He's like, hey, I made this character. What if we bring down like someone from his clan, or this person isn't dead? I'm going to bring him back. Cat Bane. It's like, if you told me even 2 years ago that we get a live action Cat Bane, I'd be like, oh, that's ridiculous. But Dave Filoni does whatever he wants and makes it work because he really loves the universe.
Yeah, there's a passion for it.
And what we're seeing from Sony and what we're seeing from Warner Brothers is people making decisions who don't.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not working.
It's so dumb.
Oh, man. We could go on about this, but I think we should. Yeah. We shouldn't spend any more time on it. It doesn't deserve it.
It has taken up too much of my life.
Yeah. Okay, so we were going to talk about The Walking Dead parts 1 and 2 of season 11. However, we decided that we've already gone a long time, and also it's not done yet, so we will probably discuss it once the series concluded. So
hopefully I'll catch up by then.
Yeah. I for the record,
it's 11 seasons.
Two things for the
Yeah, it's not happening.
Two things. I will say this about Morbius. One final thing. It's not the worst Marvel film of all. Like, I can think of maybe one or a few others that are literally the worst.
Was it as bad as the second Ghost Rider movie?
Bro, I didn't even bother watching it because it was. I was in the same boat as you are with Morbius right now at the time. So
no. That's entirely fair. That's entirely fair because the first one was also pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our reviews for the week. We'll come right back with a quick segment about what's to come. Be right back. All right, everybody. We are back for our final segment of previews, things to come around the corner, and possible predictions. And we're gonna try to speed around this as much as we can. But we got some good, exciting things that we didn't mention last time that are just around the corner, including Miss Marvel which comes out on June 8th, and we actually have our first trailer for it. What do we think about it?
I think it looks cool. Like a nice. It's definitely targeting a younger audience, like but like a nice, like family-friendly coming-of-age story kind of deal. Like especially coming after Moon Knight, which is the opposite. Everything opposite of that.
Definitely
slide this. Yeah.
I think it's showing that Marvel's really like expanding. It's like whereas superhero is less the genre and more the backdrop and the kinds of stories that they're starting to tell.
Yeah.
You know, I just had a thought of, and this is totally random. Which let me say this first about Miss Marvel. The only thing that I know about her was, of course, her power difference in the show versus her in the comics, which I'm not. Marvel's going to do it. I mean, especially if they're planning on introducing
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I understand possibly why they're doing it. I personally, I've never been a huge Miss Marvel fan, so I'm not butthurt about it.
It also makes more sense in a TV budget in terms of like making it work.
That's
Yeah. So, anyways, but you're right. It does look like one of those shows that you can watch with your kids, and it's definitely. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, even comics in general. There's a wide range of different intensities and ratings and stuff, and so it makes sense that Disney Plus is coming out with a show that you can watch with your young preteen girl, your daughter. So that being said, though, random thought just popped in my head. How have we not gotten to a certain character? Let me see if you can get to it. I know it's DC, but how have we not gotten to Squirrel Girl yet? Wait, no, she's Marvel. She's Marvel. She's Marvel. How have we not touched on her yet? How have we not teased, like, even in like anime? Well, I guess we have animation, but
I feel like I remember there being like a Squirrel Girl project at some point that someone wanted to develop before like Marvel.
Of all the shows you could put on Disney Plus.
That would,
See, I've got mixed feelings in the character just because she's been portrayed in so many different ways in the comics.
Yeah.
My favorite was Babysitter Squirrel Girl, where she was the babysitter of Danielle Cage, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones' child, and she was amazing. Also, she fought Thanos and won. So
I'm telling you.
Hey, so I don't know. It could be cool, just like having like a comically. Like more of a family-friendly, Deadpool-esque character.
Yep.
In certain portrayals, that could be fun. But hey, I don't know. I feel like she's just not a great, like, well-known property.
But that's the point, though. It's like, it's so like, what's the harm? It's a Disney Plus show. You already have all this content coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they could be working on this Young Avengers thing, and maybe they'll kind of bring her in because she plays in with it, doesn't she?
No. She's definitely older. Like, with adult Avengers, not with the kids, not with the youngins.
Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. You're probably right, Justin. You're always right.
99% of the time, by the way, if you guys forgot. Just saying.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to some Marvel movies coming out. Of course, May 6th, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I purposely haven't finally stopped watching all the trailers. I know you deliberately try not to watch them at all.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the newer teasers or whatever. I've seen headlines like, oh, the trailer shows. I'm like, shows what? I don't know. Yep. Didn't read that word. It's gone.
I know that we're going to see, well, I guess I shouldn't say it if you don't want to know.
Like Wanda's kids? Or
well,
something
not
like
just that, but like zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Doctor Strange and
Zombie Wanda.
All the stuff that was referenced in the first. I actually have some ideas about Zombie Wanda, but all the stuff that's referenced in the first trailer, like, that's fine. But also, I don't know if I can believe it because Marvel lied to me before in the what was it, Infinity War trailer? You got Hulk running around in that trailer, and he wasn't.
Here's the thing, though: is at this point we know the multiverse exists. We've seen it play out in Spider-Man, so you know that at least that part is real.
Oh yeah.
My question is, how far are they going to go to change things? Which leads us to
just like cutting scenes in the trailer to like make you think that something isn't.
Yeah, like I'm sure they'll try to deceive us a little bit.
Yeah,
but at the same time, we have Thor: Love and Thunder coming out on July 8th, and we don't have a trailer for it yet. There's got to be a reason why. There's got to be something in this movie that's preventing this trailer being released.
They haven't
that or Moon Knight.
They haven't even started like press or anything yet. Like
no, I take that back. I think they just started press.
Because I saw his tweet about it. I don't know if it was just starting or they haven't started it yet.
And so there's no trailer. I think they did. I could be wrong, but I think I saw a picture.
Goodness, that's weird.
I have a theory about how Jane ends up with Mjolnir, but
who?
Jane Foster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like, I have a couple theories, and I feel like Multiverse of Madness would just like make the most sense to.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It makes sense. It's just it's frustrating to kind of because you're wondering, okay, well, what is going to change? What is because we want to have that. It's almost frustrating because us Marvel fans, we're gonna watch Thor no matter what. We
sure.
loved Taika Waititi's Ragnarok. That was an incredible movie. So we know at least we're gonna have the same kind of fun with this film, even if it's not as great. And yet we're 3 months out. May, June, July. Yeah.
It's kind of, which one was it? Was it Infinity War or Endgame when they were holding Spider-Man? Was it like Spider-Man
You're thinking
Far From Home?
Civil War.
No. He's talking about Far
From Home. They
came
held
out
the trailer.
after Endgame.
Yeah, it's kind
Oh.
of like the same thing. It was like, okay, the time's ticking. We still haven't got a trailer.
Well,
or anything.
because he was dead.
Yeah.
And, you know.
But not just that, but you saw.
It's kind of like the same vibe. That's what I'm
But
saying.
yeah, you saw stuff of the world that answered some questions as to like where will we be,
Right.
Because like we also didn't really know about the time jump before the movie came out,
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good point. I mean, that's my point. Is it has to be related. There's no way that a movie of this caliber with Taika still behind it that they're just delaying it or hiding it or wanting to delay it or something like that. I just can't imagine that. Which leads us to the last Marvel movie that's around the corner, which is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which comes out on November 11th. I don't think anything has really changed.
They just finished.
Right, we know that
Puerto
it
Rico.
finished.
Yeah.
Anthony Mackie, that's how you say his name, right?
Yep.
He was recorded in an interview saying that they just finished wrapping and it's going to be really good, which leads you to believe, is he involved? Or maybe just in a post-credit scene kind of thing?
I would think that he would be involved,
Yeah.
just because he got his new suit from them,
Yes.
which is great for as a character,
Right.
So it would make sense to kind of bring him in, especially with, we saw in the last movie that Wakanda was starting to do this stuff, expand into all these other countries, giving technology and, schools and stuff like that. And we know we've got Riri Williams popping up, who is, gosh, why did I blink on her name? Ironheart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we got her coming up to do, which she's eventually going to be in Armor Wars and all the other fun stuff.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to have some connection there as well with Sam, because also we haven't seen him in a bit, and he's
That's
Captain
true.
America. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, he's been confirmed for his own movie, correct?
yes, there is a Captain America 4 in development.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. I really am. I'm curious if they're going to have Bucky still involved with that one, or if they're going to try to bring in oh my God, why can't I think of his name? We met him in
The other Falcon guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't remember his name.
I can't either.
I literally don't remember his name.
The face is there that was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
A young Avenger dude. Wait, we're thinking the same guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The second Falcon.
The second one, yeah.
Okay, whatever. I'm curious about that. Okay, let's move along. We already touched on this a little bit. May 27th, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi coming out, which it was pushed back 2 days. It was originally on the 25th, and it's now the 27th because they're coming out with 2 episodes at the same time, which leads me to believe, and I hope this doesn't happen because this seems to be a Disney Plus trend, where the first episode, I guess it wasn't that way with Moon Knight, but it doesn't give you too much, and I want there to be all I can get from this, if that makes sense. I don't want I don't want the first episode to be a setup episode, if that makes sense. Like, I know they have to in a way, but
Yeah, I think it might just be in a way where the 2 episodes just really flow better together,
I hope so.
and they would rather release them together
yeah.
for that purpose.
I mean, we are only getting 6 episodes. Like, they're not doing any more after this. This is it. This is
It's
all.
only 6.
This is all we get of Ewan McGregor. This is it. This is all we get.
Man, I'm with you on that then, because let's not waste any time.
I want all of it. I want
Hop right in.
I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I wonder if stuff from it is going to eventually play out in other Star Wars shows like Ahsoka
Yes.
or whatever, because like we also have overlap where, like, I mean, obviously Ahsoka knew Obi-Wan and all that fun
Right.
stuff, so it's like, I mean, even just the way certain different races in Star Wars age, we could literally have Rosario Dawson
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
as Ahsoka, just slightly de-aged,
Right.
which They're good at that right
That's
now.
easy with the makeup though.
Yep.
Like that's super easy
Hire
to
the
do.
YouTubers.
Well, yeah, but even then, like I think of people like Rex, and I think of people like, I mean, just that whole clan, I guess. But you got him, of course. In what we have seen in the trailer, we got the Grand Inquisitor, we have young Luke, we have the fifth brother. We got basically the whole clan coming in here, and I am excited to see how well they play him off. Now, I know Filoni; he's not directly involved in this, is he? I can't remember. I don't think he is.
I don't know.
I mean,
But it would be
He's-
stupid of them not to be talking. And
yeah,
'cause
I
it's
think
his
he's
baby.
involved in the overarching vision of all the Star Wars TV stuff. It's really him and Favreau who are kind of
Right.
so. I don't know his level of direct involvement,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. So I mean, Star Wars. I mean, Boba Fett wasn't great, but it wasn't like kind of like we were talking about with trash. There hasn't really been any trash as far as I've seen or felt. So I don't suspect this to flop. I'd be
Can't.
really sad if it does, but
Oh, it can't. It can't. Please.
I refuse to entertain that possibility.
Yep. Please.
all right. So a few other things around the corner. We got Halo, which is currently going on right now, but I feel like the next episode that we come back in, we might be able to discuss it a little bit. Are you guys watching it at all or want to?
Not yet, but I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not yet.
So
yeah.
look forward to that, guys. We might talk about Halo next time. May 27th, we got Stranger Things Season 4 starting up, which that's going to be an interesting clash between that and Obi-Wan. I'm curious to see the...
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I still haven't finished season 3 of Stranger
Really?
Things.
We're finished, man.
I changed Netflix accounts, so I had to like rebuild all my lists. You know.
June 3rd, we have The Boys, which I am extremely excited about. I know you have your own kind of opinion about it based on the comics, correct?
No, not really. I mean, the show is just way different, and I think the show is better.
Okay, there you go.
So
Yeah, you did say that. I forgot, yeah.
All right, well, there you go. The Boys looks good. And then June 23rd, a show that, Jordan, you got me suckered into a while back, Umbrella Academy. I'm excited about that as well.
also never finished season 2 of that. I'm really good at not finishing seasons until right before the new one comes out.
Come on.
Like I'll get distracted. I'll be like, oh, I never finished this. Let me binge it in like one day.
Yeah.
So I'll catch up for that too. So
So good.
Yep, got a lot of good things coming around the corner. We're excited to talk about them. Of course, by the next time this next episode comes out, it will be May, but it'll be in the middle of May. So that'll be before Obi-Wan, unless we decide to delay it. But I don't like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll do something.
if we do it before Obi-Wan, the next one we'll have more Obi-Wan to talk about. All
That's a
at
good point.
once.
gonna say,
Solid
yeah.
point. I mean, next one we'll have multiverse to talk about.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So I guess we can't delay. We got to talk about multiverse.
We gotta
That's
talk
going to be
about
a packed episode. It's coming in 2 parts.
We're gonna take a notebook in the movie with us, write stuff down.
Yep.
Now Jordan and I are just going to see it like 3 times opening. weekend.
Right.
Yep. It's true.
All right, so that is our previews. Let's have one quick final segment. We had a fan question from our friends at the Cheesy Gordita Bunch podcast, and they asked, who is the best Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and why is it Tom Holland?
Oof.
You know, they're right. So
You think so? Do you think Tom's your favorite?
I would say Tom's my favorite, and let me
agree.
tell you. Let me tell you why.
Tom
let me
is
tell you
it,
why.
man.
Toby, I know a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for Toby.
Oh,
Toby,
no, I can't. No.
I grew
He said no. He
Toby
shut
was the
that
worst. Andrew Garfield, I loved Andrew Garfield because he at the time he was the best. But I feel like Tom Holland is his character. It's a little bit annoying, and I love it because it's like the whole fight scene in Civil War with him and Bucky and Falcon is the funniest thing ever. Where he's just like asking about his arms, like, "Oh, it's cool, you have a metal arm,"
Yeah.
and like and his wings. He's like, "What are these made out of?" And it's just like, but also he's wrecking them absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a little unfair because granted, we started with high school with Andrew Garfield, but even then, it felt like we were at...
Also, Andrew Garfield looked like he was 40 in high
Right.
school. So.
Truth.
He played, I think, a wonderful adult Spider-Man, adult Peter Parker, and we haven't had that yet with
He
Tom
was, a little,
Holland.
he, was a little too sad for my taste, but you know.
Really? You better be careful. My wife might throw something at you.
will not stand for this.
Hey, man.
No. I did really love adult Andrew. Like I loved it, but Tom Holland, even just like at the end of the last movie, you know,
But
it was
no,
the most Peter Parker thing that could ever happen.
It is.
But even
It is.
in No Way Home, I mean, Andrew, I think he just stole the show.
Oh, he was great. No, don't get me wrong. I am not dissing him or any level.
I think it goes Tom, Andrew, Toby for me.
Agreed.
Wow.
I am entirely on board with Jordan.
Yes.
Interesting. I think I might side a little bit more with Andrew. Maybe it's just because I don't know. I just genuinely loved when that movie came out. We were like what? We were right out of high school because first one was what 2012, 2011. Amazing Spider-Man.
Shoot, I was well out of high school at that point. But yeah.
You're only a couple years older than me.
Yeah, I graduated high school in 07.
Oh, you were okay. You were got out quick then.
Yeah.
I was out for a couple years then, I think. But anyways, point is that just at that time in my life, I felt connected to that young adult Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah.
And so to me, like that, I mean, that's why I hold on to Andrew. And Andrew just, I love his other work that he does, like especially with like The Lighthouse and even just recently Tick Tick Boom. He's just a great actor.
Between the three of them, I would say Andrew is my favorite actor.
Yeah.
Out of the three of them, I just think that I prefer Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
Okay,
I
fair
think
enough.
Andrew needs another shot, man.
He's
gonna suit up.
I wouldn't be
again.
against it.
He's gonna suit up again.
I'm actually against it, and also I don't. No, just
come slap him, please.
I will say this: I do want a Miles before I get Andrew again.
Okay, I agree with that.
yeah,
I agree with that. I
but
agree
also,
with that.
I don't think that Sony actually could do that right now with with their current contract.
Oh, God, no.
With Marvel, and also based upon how the movies are performing, I don't think Marvel would want them to do that.
No.
So
True. Very
This
true.
is true.
and
This is true.
that's the thing, because if we're getting an Andrew movie, it wouldn't be an MCU movie, and I don't want that.
That's fact.
Because do you want a Morbius level Andrew Garfield
No,
Spider-Man
no,
movie?
no.
Well, and that I was listening to another podcast, and they're talking about if you're Andrew Garfield and you see this 16% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, you don't even go near that. Like Andrew has a say in this, and you know if they're trying to, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like I mean, legitimately, like
Yeah.
unless you get the same writers that you had last time, and
Or
you
you're
know
paying a buttload of money.
if you know for a
front.
fact that that Sony won't touch it, then maybe. Yeah. But the fact that they just did Morbius, they have Craven coming out, Morbius. This gets me scared.
Oh, they
now.
just started filming that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can Aaron Taylor Johnson save that movie? Probably not.
So I
What are they doing?
exactly.
What are they doing?
Chaos.
Guys?
Chaos.
What are
It's
they
chaos.
doing?
Yeah.
Are they like
Venom,
studying
and
Warner
they're gonna
Brothers?
They're
or
gonna
like
keep Venom going. So Sony's essentially what you said earlier at the beginning of the pod is Sinister Six. They're basically trying to do that.
they are?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to crash and burn.
Oh, yeah.
Any other final thoughts, guys, about anything that we discussed today?
No.
Sony needs to stop making superhero movies.
Yes. Stop. Yeah. Like, stop it. Get some help.
Disney just needs enough money to buy back all their movies
Yes.
from
Yeah.
Sony.
I mean, they're making their way. They
I was
got their
gonna
Fox.
say, they have everybody. Like almost, they're like
They have the movie rights to every character, I think, except for Namor and Hulk. Both have distribution deals with other companies, and then obviously all the Spider-Man stuff with Sony.
Yeah.
Like owns all the rights. But like the reason we haven't gotten a solo Hulk movie is they have a distribution deal with
Right.
Universal, and Universal won't give that up. So they're like, all right, we're just gonna toss them in other movies.
Yeah.
And there was something with Namor, and I think it was, I can't remember what studio it was, but same thing. We'll probably see Namor maybe in Black Panther 2.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's sad, but awesome, and yet sad at the same time because, yay, capitalism. But Disney's just buying out all these. I mean, it just. Have you seen the not the accusations, the acquisitions? That's the word I was looking for over the years of what they have bought between like AMC, between MGM,
like
and
a
all these
huge
different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just-
Miramax, all those studios are
adding
owned
them.
by Disney.
yeah.
it's like it's a lot.
Yeah. Which, by the way, did you know that some of those earlier Quentin Tarantino films, therefore, are technically owned by Disney?
Yep, all the Miramax stuff,
Isn't
like
that wild?
Pulp Fiction, and yeah.
It's crazy to
That's
think
insane.
about. Just Disney owns all that. And theoretically, we could.
They're
I mean, they
taking
wouldn't.
over.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at AlwaysMorePod. Justin, where can we find you, man?
Me, I am everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, whatever. As Justin is Theory.
I'm everywhere at Jordan Creative, CRTV, at TikTok and Instagram and Twitter.
And Twitter?
Yeah, I guess I'm on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter, yeah.
I don't post anything.
Hey, man.
You can follow me if you want. You'll get like 1 tweet a year. So.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Timothy Lichty and on TikTok at Tim Lichty. That's L-I-E-C-H-T-Y. And thank you all again for listening and being a part of the conversation. And remember, there's always more than this. We'll see you guys next time.
See you.
See ya.
Yeah.